These stories are taken from Askreddit. 911 operators, what are your most disturbing calls? One that sticks out with me is a 14-year-old girl that calls the police for a disturbance. Officers show up and everything seems average. Parents advise the reporting party is upset because she isn't allowed to go out with her boyfriend. Officers are getting ready to leave after being there for around 40 minutes, but something seems off to them. The two officers take the 14-year-old girl outside and near the patrol units to speak to her. While they are walking outside, the girl's mother and stepfather and two sisters go and stand on the porch to see if they can see what's going on. They're unable to hear due to the officers and the girl being on the other side of the street. It was then when the stepfather started pacing and went inside. The girl breaks down and tells the officer that her stepdad had been sexually assaulting her for years, and he didn't want to go see her boyfriend because he was jealous. The officers look up, and at that moment they see the stepfather shoot the mother in the back of the head. He proceeds to shoot the reporting party's older sister in the chest and her young sister in the leg as they started running away. One of the officers returns fire while the other one is shielding the reporting party. The stepfather runs inside and barricades himself. The reporting party tells the officer that her two brothers are inside with the stepfather. Backup arrives and surround the home. The officers make forced entry after they hear gunfire from inside. They storm the residence and find the stepfather has shot himself in the head with his two biological sons in the same room. The mother died instantly, and the older sister died instantly. The younger sister was hospitalized, but I don't know if she made it. She was flown to a hospital miles away. This 14-year-old lost her family. Later, the investigators were taking her statement, and the only reply was, "Last time I tried to tell someone the truth, I lost my family. It doesn't matter what I say, I'm alone now." It took hours to get in contact with the family, and eventually we were able to get in touch with her grandparents, and she left with them. I think about this kid a lot. I hope she's okay. This one still bothers me because it's so fresh and our community is still hurting from it. I took a call from a hysterical woman advising me of a rollover crash that happened near her house. She lives near the top of a blind hill that people like to jump, like catching butterfly feeling in your stomach, although you can get air in the right vehicle. She tells me that a girl is laying on the ground about 30 feet or so from the vehicle. When asked if the girl's alive, she says, "Oh yes, honey, she's wiggling around on the ground. My daughter's a nurse and she's checking on her now." Awesome. We hardly are ever lucky enough to have a trained professional on the scene before a med unit can get there. She tells me that her daughter is starting CPR. To be honest, that didn't surprise me. My caller was getting hysterical again, and we already had first responders on the way, so I started asking more questions about the scene. Her daughter breaks CPR to get on the phone with me, tells me she can only do compressions, and that the girl's jaw's completely gone. A bit stunned, I tell her to continue compressions, but rather than getting put back on with the original caller, I hear the scared voice of a teenage girl, the driver. "Is my friend gonna be okay?" I can't find anything to say for a moment. Finally, after what seemed to be a long time, I say, "They're doing CPR, dear, and we have help on the way. Are you and the other passenger okay?" She says, "We're fine, just please tell me she's okay." The girl on the ground was confirmed DOA. She had been lying down in the back seat without her seatbelt on because she had a headache. She was 15. On my second full-time shift, it was about 11 p.m. on a Thursday. We got a call from a female screaming, just screaming. That's all we heard. We lost connection. second 911 call from the neighbor across the street. I think I just heard a gunshot and our neighbor is screaming and yelling for help. I think something terrible just happened. While my partner is getting more info from caller number 2, 911 rings again, and it's the original caller. She's still screaming, but is trying to speak even though I can't understand anything she's saying, and after a very stern couple of verbal slaps, "Ma'am, I need you to calm down and tell me what's going on," she's finally able to tell me that she thinks her husband just killed himself. She went on to explain they were watching a TV show together and everything seemed normal. When he got up, he said that he'd be right back, and the wife heard the back door open and close. She heard a gunshot and she ran to the door and just saw his feet and legs lying down on the deck. She called initially, but she was unable to control herself and accidentally hung up. It was still a complete disaster when I talked to her, but I was able to get the basics of what happened and relay the info to the responding officers and fire. She kept telling me that she needed to go outside and help him. Do I need to go out there? Do you need me to go out there? I don't want to see him. I can't see him. My only job at that point was to try to keep her calm and keep her from getting up from the corner of the kitchen floor where she had collapsed until police arrived and secured the weapon. I had been married 27 years, 2 kids, 3 grandkids, and lived a happy life together. She had no indication that anything was wrong. Her husband got up from the couch, walked out onto the back porch, and blew his head off with a black powder pistol. I don't remember her name, but I'll never forget her screams. A young man, 23 years old, called and he told me he was going to commit suicide. He was my first call of my shift that day, very early in the morning. He planned to set his car on fire with himself inside. He was upset and crying, but he apologized to me. He said he was sorry I picked up the phone, and he was sorry for how this was going to affect me. He hung up on me, and the second time I was speaking to him, I could hear the liquid splashing in the background. He ended up hanging up again, and I never got him back. He did end up setting that on fire, and it was fully engulfed by the time anyone got there. I'll never forget his name or his voice. I simply hope I showed him enough kindness and compassion in his last moments.